Hello and welcome. My name's Dave Carson from Free the Mind UK, a chat with a therapist. And tonight we've got a very special guest in the way of Nikki Scott, co-founder of Hypopressives UK. But before I introduce Nikki, we're going to play the intro video. Here we go.
Not sure what therapy to choose? Free the Mind UK presents a chat with a therapist. Join us live for an up-close informal discussion of the various holistic therapies available, helping you make that important choice.
Nikki, welcome. Hey, so good to see you. Thanks for coming on. I'm really excited to learn a lot more about hypopressives. To be honest, I'd never really heard much about it. You know,
you met me
as a sort of exercise routine, which is that correct? It's like an exercise routine.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there that also have never heard of it. So this is a great opportunity to, to let people know about it, because I'm sure there'll be lots of people out there that could benefit from it. And that's what this channel is all about, bringing people on to discuss things that are, going to be beneficial for our well-being. So, Nikki, it's normally customary to start off with a bit of a backdrop on how you got into this and that sort of thing. So if you want to give us a short overview of how you got involved in it and that.
Okay, so I am a health and fitness coach, and mostly personal training was what I was doing. And I have twins who are now 22.
Wow.
And I just found after I had them that they kind of wrecked my body. I was very weak and unstable, and I had a lot of pelvic floor problems, like stress and urge incontinence, so leaking when I'm exercising, laughing, coughing, just making my life hell, really, because I was a very busy, active person with my job as well as, enjoying doing exercise. So I was looking for something to try and help myself. Sorry, my dog's in the background.
That's fine.
And I went down the conventional route, which I find a lot of women that come to me and talk to me about their issues have gone down the conventional route, which is to see their GP and then usually get referred to a women's health physio. And the women's health physio was giving me just traditional pelvic floor exercises, which she told me if I did them religiously, then I'd sort my problems out, and they didn't. In fact, over a time period, they made things worse for me. So I was going back to exercise and just really not being able to exercise without leaking. And, a lot of women joke about these things, but it's not very nice. And it does impact a lot on, you worry about not leaving the house because you don't know where the next toilet is, or you worry about whether you get through an exercise class or a gym program without having to keep dashing to the toilet or without having an accident. So I was really searching for something to help myself, and heard somebody talking on social media about hypopressives and how she was using it with postnatal clients. And at this point, I was 12. My kids were 12, so I wasn't newly postnatal. It wasn't like I just had a baby or just had babies. And I was curious as to whether it would help someone like me who was a bit further along and kind of felt given up on. Well, I hadn't given up on myself, but I, just felt a bit despondent with the treatment that I'd been given. I started on doing hypopressives after I did the training course. And I'd say within 3 months, I had no incontinence issues at all.
Wow.
It's been longer to sort out like postural issues, but I was suffering regularly with neck pain, shoulder pain, lower back pain. And through my training, that made me feel quite weak. I was unable to kind of lift weights and do things that I wanted to do. And over time, I'd say it came like later after 3 months, but I just found that I'm able to just get back on with my life, do things that I want to do, and not really even kind of think about the issues that I had before. So for me, it was a bit of a miracle cure. And then I kind of brought it into my business. So I kind of came at it from a my own point of view. I wanted to sort my own problems out.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to bring it into my own clientele. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And that was about 10, 11 years ago now.
Because we know each other, and I think when I first met you, it was at business networking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think you were sort of pushing or talking about that. You were, involved with it then, I think, wasn't you?
Absolutely. I mean, that was really at its infancy, and you say, oh, you've never heard of it, and people have never heard of it. We fast forwarded 10 years almost, and I'm still feel like I'm going, excuse me, hello.
These things take time, Nikki. They do.
I was talking to one of my qualified trainers, and she was saying that she's in the Pilates world, and she's come over from America, and she said when she first came to the UK to live, no one had heard of Pilates, and kind of fast forward 30 years, it's everywhere. Everyone knows about Pilates. So, I think that obviously 10 years isn't that long.
No, it's relatively new in the whole, with this sort of thing, I guess. Yeah.
But I mean, it's been around for over 35 years, probably nearer 40 years now, but mostly in Spain and Spanish-speaking countries. So for a very long, probably up until the point where we brought it into the UK, there weren't any other organisations. There was just literally this one organisation, and then that splintered off, and there were some other organisations that started to do training, and that's when it started to reach out into different countries and across the world. And actually, for me, COVID and lockdown has been a godsend, because it's made me put it online. And literally all my business now, I do a little bit of in-person stuff, but I would say 95% of my business is online now. Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, I'm guessing everybody's interested to know what's involved in hypopressives. What's it all about?
So it's a breathing technique, and it's postures. So you could say, well, that's really similar to Pilates and yoga. That's what they are as well. Yeah. And the way I like to describe it is it just kind of helps with reconnecting your body and making your body work as it should do. So we have an element of our muscles that we use a lot throughout the day. And when we're doing training and when we're doing Pilates and yoga, we tend to use that conscious control when we're actively thinking about what we need to contract and what we're bracing or what we're using, what muscles we're using. With hypopressives, it's much more subconscious. So you do therapy.
Very interesting.
Conscious, but it is because your muscles need. There are certain times of the day, certain things that happen to you. Say, for example, a sneeze. Where you need the subconscious part of your muscles to activate before you.
Yeah, it's like an automatic response sort of thing, Nikki.
So that's the difference in the response it has to your body. But very much hypopressives works on that whole body approach, just the same, I suppose, as yoga and Pilates. But more traditional pelvic floor work tends to work just on an area, a bit like you've gone to the doctor, you've got a bad knee, they treat you.
Okay.
So, women go to the doctors with pelvic floor dysfunction, and everybody, doesn't matter what the dysfunction is given the same exercise protocol pretty much. And it just it's a bit bonkers that we're all given the same dependent, doesn't matter what we've got wrong with us, but it's this blanket treatment. But also that exercise is a conscious contraction. It's something that we are trying to control, and we're squeezing consciously when we do pelvic floor squeezes, and there's nothing wrong in that, but we need that subconscious element of our muscles working. And muscles don't work in isolation either. So hypopressive works on this whole body approach where it gets everything kind of responding and talking to each other in a much more functional way.
Right, because I'm trying to personally, I'm trying to understand the subconscious aspect of it. So obviously muscles are reacting. We're not conscious of it because it's like an automatic response. So do you actually, are you saying that you sort of end up controlling those muscles or not? Or you aid that?
Use more of that autonomic side, which gets switched off by things like trauma.
I see.
Bad posture and
Yeah,
you know, so
yeah.
it goes through a huge trauma when you give birth, whether it's cesarean or whether it's natural. And you know, it doesn't. You don't have to be a woman to have problems with your pelvic floor. You know, men have pelvic floors as well. So, you know, although I would say almost 100% of my clients that come to hypopressives are women.
Yes.
It's really beneficial for men to do it as well.
It's interesting you say that, because I came across Hypopressives LPF.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that you're involved in?
No, I mean, like I said, there were a lot of splinter companies.
Oh, okay. But that seemed to be focused towards men. Is that right?
Not necessarily. I mean, I just think that because there's so many women that need help, and many women that have issues, that it tends to be our clientele. So I think probably what you're talking about is a company who are trying to target men more, and I'd love more men to be doing it. I mean, men can get much better posture, and that will be such a benefit as you get older, because it's only going to get worse as you get older. And the only reason that people have poor posture is because of tension in the wrong muscles and tension in joints, because they've been pulling for so long, or they've been in a certain position for so long.
Right.
So tension tends to come at the front of the body, and it tends to mean that the muscles at the back of the body are also tense, but that's because they're stretching.
Right.
And so it's about readjusting it so that we have the muscles at the back of our body actually working actively to stabilize us and hold us up, and us not having to kind of go, oh yeah, poor posture, oh yeah, poor posture, and keep pulling ourselves up. It just stays like it.
Right.
Over time, that's why I say it is over time. You do have to put some work into it, but
the body gets used to it. It becomes automatic,
and those muscles start to work as they should do. Which you know, the muscles at the back of the body, the big muscles like your glutes and your big back muscles, they start to have much more tension in them, and you're able to hold yourself upright, and you don't end up sticking your head forward and slouching. So for men, it's an amazing benefit to have. And you know, a lot of men do very kind of heavy jobs, like manual jobs, and they put their body under a lot of pressure. And again, hypopressives helps with that pressure management. So if their core's working correctly, then it will help with that pressure management, and it won't become a problem for that person, whether it's a man or a woman. But if their core doesn't work, if their body's not working properly and responding properly to that pressure, the pressure will find the weak point. And wherever
that to me many a time, Nikki.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm exercising, funny enough.
Yeah.
You know,
I just put my back out, but it didn't just go. It was a build-up of weakness.
Of
course. Then that incident, maybe you pick up a weight wrongly, or just, you know, it's something that's a bit too heavy, and it causes pain or something.
It's interesting talking about scar tissues.
Oh yeah.
Because I went to have a session of the Bowen technique with and she was sort of explaining, you know, the process of that, you know, how it affects the body.
Scars, they're huge. I mean, and going back to like postnatal women, there's a very high percentage of postnatal women that are either cut when they give birth, or they tear when they give birth. So that's going to form a scar in a really crucial place in their body.
Right.
It will then cause the rest of the tissue that we're connected into. We're like this myofascial web. It will cause that to pull. And
out of balance.
When women suffer from a pelvic organ prolapse, which is where one of their pelvic organs or more have moved out of position, it's not usually because of weakness, which is what they're told. There's all this terrible language that's used with women about being weak and dysfunctional and blah, blah, blah. And actually, it isn't. It's the tension from the scar tissue that's pulling. And if they just knew how to work that scar and work on the scar and the tissue around it, then actually they would get some release, and it would actually help that organ go back into position. So scars are a really big.
What's the traditional way that the doctors would deal with the scarring issues?
We're not. I mean, I had an episiotomy, which is where you're cut, and obviously then have a fairly big scar. And I told to do anything to my scar, not even by the women's health physio. No one told me to do anything to my scar until, I mean, I do lots of research all the time on different things, and I got in touch with the women's health physio that's actually on my YouTube channel. There's a Q&A with her.
Okay.
And she's really got lots of research behind her to do with scars and how much tension they cause. And I didn't really know at the time. And she was, encouraging women to kind of empower themselves to kind of do their own massage on their scars and find out how to do that, because it will make a big impact on the health of the tissue.
Also, I think she said to me, cesarean is one of, obviously, if we had more natural births, we wouldn't have as much of a problem in that respect. No,
I wouldn't say so. I mean, even with a natural birth, like I say, if you're cut, you have a scar. If you tear or you have trauma of any sort, then you're likely to have scarring as well. And that, it doesn't matter big or small.
Right.
So
it doesn't really matter.
No.
Wow.
When you're putting your faith in your midwife,
they
just want the baby to arrive safely. So they do what they have to do. So I'm not dissing what treatment women are given, but obviously they want to get baby out safely. And so often that means that there's a cut, a tear, or some sort of scarring goes on.
Like I say, I was really surprised when she was explaining about the scarring, the effect it has on the body. Everything moves and gets out of balance, and it's very interesting. Definitely.
I did sports and remedial massage, and that was a few years ago, and we were kind of talking about scars, and they give this great kind of analogy of like the T-shirt that, this guy was talking about a scar he had on his back where a mole was taken off. And there was quite a lot of tissue taken away. And, like you imagine that's kind of pulling everything around it and kind of pulling it, and if you with your T-shirt over this side and like down here, it would feel awful, wouldn't it? You'd want to keep straightening it up.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
But the body adapts to that, and so then you kind of get into these postures that
you end up, it becomes automatic dodgy postures,
and you get into pain. By sorting out your posture, you will have much less pain.
Gosh, I love it. I was going to ask you, like, who can do hypopressives? Are there some people that can't do it? Is there, I
think the answer to that is that really the only people that can't do it are anyone that's got a diagnosed arrhythmic heart condition.
Okay.
So, and pretty much everyone else is good. I get asked a lot I've got quite a lot of trainers now, and I get asked a lot of questions around, if someone's come in with this, can I do hypopressive? Someone's had that, or they're recovering from something, can I do hypopressives? And most of the time the answer is yes. Really and truly, medically, the only time that you wouldn't is if someone had a diagnosed heart condition.
Well, explain about the breathing. Why is the breathing important in the movement?
So when you breathe correctly, when we do the hypopressive breathings, such a space invader.
Space invader.
You on the computer in a minute. When you do hypopressive breathing, it's all about reconnecting the diaphragm and pelvic floor, because the diaphragm and pelvic floor have this intrinsic relationship. And so when one is doing something, the other one is doing the same. It mirrors what it's doing. So, for example, if we can do really good diaphragmatic breathing, so we're getting the ribs to move laterally and the diaphragm drop down and stretch across as far as it can go, we're getting full work from the diaphragm, we're going to get that movement naturally from the pelvic floor without ever having to do a pelvic floor squeeze. So that in itself, getting better at lateral breathing is really, really important.
Very beneficial, definitely.
For everybody, because your diaphragm is connected to your pelvic floor.
Yeah.
Everyone's the same. But it's not just about that. It's about reconnecting deep core muscles. It's about getting the the brain to kind of change the way it's talking to your muscles all over your body, so that we actually make those muscles work as they should do. And so, yeah, it's so that breathing, the first part of the breathing, the diaphragmatic breathing, is probably the most important part, because we start to re-establish that connection between the diaphragm and the pelvic floor. Okay. And then we have a second part to the hypopressive breathing, which is a breath hold. Which is, if you've seen photos, it's what looks like I'm sucking my tummy in. Okay. Anyone's like Googling now and they're looking at photos, and they look at the photo and it looks like I've like literally. Yeah,
I did notice one actually. Your stomach looked like it was really pulled in. I saw that. Yeah.
But what that is it's actually a reflex. So it's a subconscious reflex, and it happens as a result of getting rid of all your air and holding your breath. You have to learn this. So getting rid of all your air, holding your breath, and relaxing tension. So it's not actually contracting and pulling in. It's actually relaxed and allowing that reflex to happen.
Is it? Sorry.
So again, the brain has to learn what you're doing. Why am I doing this? It has to learn that over time. But you start to create this pull, and it will increase the benefits of the lateral breathing.
Because I'm interested in breathing, particularly interested in the Wim Hof method of breathing. And with that one, you do like an out breath, and then you hold that. Is that similar when you're doing an in breath and hold it? I can't remember what you said.
It's
an out breath, isn't it?
Hypopressives, it's a complete exhale.
Exhale, so an out breath, a complete out breath, and then you get rid of all the air, and then you hold that. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's what Wim Hof does. It's supposed to have amazing benefits for the body.
So, I mean, that breathing not only is affecting the diaphragm and the pelvic floor, but all of the, as I said, everything's connected. So, it's having an effect on the fascia, it's having an effect on the muscles, it's having an effect on myofascia. So it stretches. So if you've got tension in the pelvic floor from scars, it's helping to release that tension and restore function. So
okay. So moving away from the pelvic floor, which I get the idea that it was created primarily to help in that situation originally. Is that right?
Well, it was founded by a physiotherapist.
Okay.
A women's health physiotherapist. And it was, so it was started to be used with mostly postnatal women. I think that was kind of initially
the idea behind it. So what other areas does it have sort of dramatic?
So many benefits. People often say to me, can men do it? Obviously, I've spoken about that.
Yeah.
With men as well, it's things like preventing hernias, preventing prolapsed disc. It's very good with helping with prevention. Once you've got them, once you've got a hernia, it's obviously not. Hypopressives won't take the hernia away, but again, it will help you not to have another one.
Okay.
It's the postural benefits, as I said, will be massive for some people because they'll have been living with pain. They'll had a bad back for years, and they'll be really struggling with that. But it's fantastic for athletes because it improves their lung capacity and therefore their endurance.
Is that to do with the breathing technique that you incorporate into it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's that function of the diaphragm, that kind of maximal use of the diaphragm, which we're just not. Mostly, we're kind of breathing, and the diaphragm's doing this when it could do this. So imagine if you had an umbrella and it was pouring with rain, you wouldn't just want it to half open, fully open, so it kept you dry. Well, it's the same thing. You want your diaphragm to work fully, and in doing that, you'll start to get the pelvic floor to get join in as well.
Do you breathe through the nose or the mouth when you're doing this?
Well, when we're teaching it to beginners, we breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth.
Okay.
But when people have got more used to it, we use just nasal breathing.
Nasal, because I'm very interested in breathing techniques, and there's a guy called James Nestor. Have you heard of him?
No.
Fantastic book. It's called Breath, and he talks about mouth breathing. I'm going digressing a little bit here. And,
Patrick McEwen's the other one that I've heard of, the oxygen advantage.
Okay, no.
So
He was saying mouth breathing's really bad for you, especially for your jaw and your teeth and everything. It can really affect lots of different things. And he did experiments with nose breathing for like 3 months, to the point that when he slept, he would, tape his mouth. Yeah, so it sounds similar.
Yeah, it's the same.
What's that guy's name again? I'm going to write it down.
Patrick McEwen.
Say again.
Patrick McEwen.
Patrick McEwen.
And it's potato breathing. That's the method of breathing that they're talking about. Both of them.
What? Say that again. No. Potato. That's what I heard. I didn't think it was. Go on.
Potato.
Potato. Potato breathing. Hey, blimmin' heck.
He talks the same about kind of taping your mouth, and when you go for a run, for example, I know that my partner, when he's a really good runner, and when he was running, he said kind of that first 5 or 10 minutes that it takes you to get into a run, it can be quite painful, and as you try and find your breathing rhythm, and he just said when he started to do regular hypopressives, he didn't get any of that. He'd just go out and feel easy straight away. So it really helps with all sorts of different things.
I think posture is really important, isn't it? I like doing sit-ups, for instance. When I do sit-ups, I'm always aware that because I have.
Don't talk to me about sit-ups. I have a really bad view on sit-ups.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They can be a bit dangerous, to be fair, if you're not doing them properly.
The thing is, any traditional core training is okay if you function properly. So if you've got good, stable core.
Because you've got some exercises that really do tone the abdominal muscles, haven't you? There are certain exercises that you do that don't involve actually doing a sit-up. Is that right?
Well, the whole flow, I suppose. We have postures. So I teach 8 postures, and those 8 postures fit together to form a flow.
Oh wow! Okay.
And what you do is you gradually learn all 8 postures, and then eventually, each day that you do hypopressives, you would do your little flow of about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, so
I don't do any other core training. I haven't got a 6-pack, but I don't care. But if you
a lot of that's diet as well, Nikki.
Sorry.
A lot of that's diet, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's diet, and it's like if you're a bodybuilder and you want that kind of 6-pack look, fine. Then probably some of the more traditional core work would come into play as well. But hypopressives is still really good because it's working very differently from traditional core training. Again, when you're doing a sit-up, you're kind of tensing and targeting rectus abdominis, and you're actually lengthening and stretching those big back stabilizing muscles that you don't want to do that to. And that's why I don't like them. And also because of the amount of pressure that a sit-up or a crunch puts on your pelvic floor. And a lot of people that I see are in a very weakened situation, and they're going to the gym and they're doing their sit-ups because they think they get a nice strong core, and actually it's having the reverse effect, really.
Wow. Interesting. I like the idea of just the 8 movements, because that's keeps it quite simple, doesn't it?
Oh yes. So we don't really spend any more than 10 to 15 minutes a day on our flow. That's it. That's all you need to do.
So
do it regularly.
10 to 15 minutes for the whole 8 movements, yeah?
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
you just breathe. You're breathing throughout these different movements, and you get this little flow where you start standing up and you finish lying down, and it's really nice. I've been doing mine regularly. I would say since COVID, really, really regularly, because I started to form these groups on Facebook, trying to get everyone else into it, and it's like a healthy habits type group, and I just haven't stopped. I've just turned up. I would say 5 days a week. People never get sick of it. They love it.
If I enjoy Pilates, right? I enjoy doing it. So could I do this alongside Pilates?
Absolutely,
yeah. So it's complementary to other sort of yoga, people who do yoga.
Yeah,
because there might be people watching this thinking, "Oh, well, I do yoga and that's all good," but they, you know, I think it's important to know that they could, use this system alongside it.
yeah. So we've trained a lot of people that are in the fitness industry that specifically Pilates and yoga teachers. That a lot of the time they come to the teacher training course because they have their own issues that yoga or Pilates hasn't helped particularly with. So I think there's benefits from both yoga and Pilates for their training, but sometimes not necessarily for the problems that they've come for. And Hypopressives seems to sort that out. So you can use it alongside. You can use it. I've got some of my trainers that do Pilates and Hypopressives together as like a class.
Okay. It's interesting actually, Nikki, because one of my ex-partners was a yoga teacher, and she was really good, great teacher. But she did admit that she did have problems with the body with doing a yoga.
Yeah.
Which I was speaking to somebody else. I don't want to upset any yoga teachers out there, but I'm guessing, if they're doing lots of classes and all these different movements, I guess, I was quite surprised by that.
Well, I'm not, because of just the way I've explained that Hypopressives works. We don't just have one part of our muscles that needs to work. So you've got to imagine that any muscle has that conscious activation and that subconscious activation. And so if in doing yoga, Pilates, traditional gym work, I mean, I do a lot of traditional gym work myself. We're just kind of working on that conscious contraction. Yeah.
Right. I see.
So you need to start to, and that, I think that's why they do Hypopressives, and they're like, wow, years and years of doing gym work or years and years of doing Pilates, and I've never had that response. I've never felt my body respond that quickly. And that's why it feels like a little bit of a miracle. I suppose, like for me, I was told to do my pelvic floor squeezes, religiously did them day in, day out, and everything got worse. So, I had to try something else, and it was like a miracle, because it just, I'd been in a situation where things were getting worse, not better, and to have it stop completely was just the best outcome.
So it, like with your 8 movements, excuse me, like if you were to do one of them, it would activate a certain amount of muscle, I don't know how to say it, muscle response, or that automatic muscle response, or does it activate it all, but the 8 exercises, complementary? I don't know.
So all 8 postures are functional movements. So we do stuff in a standing position, we do stuff in a half bent over position, we do stuff in a kneeling position, in all fours, we do stuff sitting cross-legged, we do stuff laying down. So all of these movements are what we do each day.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're reminding the body to work, the muscles to work, whilst we're standing, whilst we're kneeling, whilst we're bending over. Because how many, I know myself, someone will say, oh, I just bent down to get something, pick up a newspaper off the doormat on my back.
Many times.
Bent over position, do you know what I mean? And the muscles haven't learned to work when someone puts them under that much strain. So it's about the postures are just, they're quite repetitive. Because we want to keep reminding.
Of course, you want to remind. So it helps obviously makes the muscles go back into the position and work the way they should, basically.
I mean, that would be the ideal. And for some people, they've been in really compromised positions for a very long time, so there's only so much that we can do. But certainly, I know with myself, I was a hairdresser before I came into the fitness industry, and my posture was so terrible. It really was. So, you're
constantly bent over like that, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Some professions just gonna, and if I hadn't done anything about that, I would have been in a lot worse state now. So, although it's not, it can be done at any age. Obviously, the quicker we catch poor posture, then
I'm all in on this, Nikki. Seriously, I'm going to check out your online courses. Definitely. I mean, I did carpet. Well, I still do for many years, and I'm doing one position all the time, and my pelvis tends to come out of place occasionally, not a lot, but like my psoas muscles aren't in alignment and everything, because it's that movement I do. So someone like me with those issues, although I'm okay, but it's I could improve them. It sounds like it'd be sort of ideal for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you start to age, that tension that you have is going to start to pull you even more further forward. And then obviously what that does is it brings your head further forward, and the heaviest part of your body is your head. And so then you hear of older people falling over a lot. Because they become very unbalanced. Their head is too far forward, so their weights fall forward, and they only need to trip over something tiny, and they've gone, haven't they? They've fallen on the floor. So it's massive to get it sorted out while you can.
It's interesting actually, because in yoga you see some of the positions they get in, and you're like, oh my god, it's are any of the 8 movements quite complicated? Are they quite simplistic for people?
I think that they are quite simple, to be honest. There are some that are more challenging.
Okay.
But then that can be quite individualized as well, because as you said, you've got tension in your psoas. So I can think of a couple of positions that would really be painful and uncomfortable for you, but would really help you to practice them. So everyone's very individual. It kind of depends where you have your tension.
Okay.
Most people carry lots of tension, kind of neck, shoulders, and they end up with like this.
Well, I had my posture done by Sue, and she had a laser, on the wall, and and apparently I wasn't too bad. I was out a little bit, but it was pretty good. I was quite surprised, to be honest. But I've been doing a bit of Pilates, probably helped.
That would help too.
But no, because you see a lot, as you say, you see a lot of old people, and they're stooped over. And when you get to a certain age, like myself, not that I'm that old, but getting that way, it's important, I think, to start thinking about getting all your muscles where they should be, so you don't have to be in that position when you're older where you're all bent over.
I mean, we've talked a lot about kind of postnatal women, but it's hypopressives is something that can be used throughout your life. Certainly for me, I suppose I came at it because I had issues from having children that needed sorted out, and then seeing all of the benefits that came with it, because I kind of came at it with having incontinence, so I need to sort that out, and that was sorted out. But then having those postural benefits has really encouraged me just to keep going. And then going through the menopause, that kind of changes everything as well for a lot of people, and certainly for me. And I just kind of feel like now that I'm able to go forward into my senior years without really having to worry too much about.
Absolutely. I see the great benefits with ladies with postnatal birth and all that, and what happens with the body, and also the other benefits that come with it. So it's a win-win, really, isn't it?
I think often someone will say, oh, I this has happened and I never expected that, and it can be things like someone has been really suffering with migraines, and they might not have mentioned it because they were concentrating on their pelvic floor issues, and then they're like, actually, I don't have any migraines anymore.
I was going to ask you about that, actually, Nikki, with regards to things like depression and anxiety and stress. Obviously, it's a field I'm interested in. Does it have benefits there?
With the breathing, it's very, very mindful. It's very rhythmical. So we get into this rhythm. We basically do this rhythm throughout the whole of the flow.
Wow.
So you're just breathing, and you're inhaling and exhaling in a certain rhythm. And then obviously you're holding your breath. It's just really, really mindful. It kind of helps de-stress. And a lot of breathing disorders like panic attacks, anxiety attacks, those sort of things that affect the breathing are just because we're getting those short, sharp breaths where the diaphragm just can't stretch everything goes really, really tight. Diaphragm is a muscle of emotion. So all of those anxieties and their worries go into the diaphragm, tighten it up, and then guess what? You can't breathe properly. So if we can start to put in some breathing techniques that help us to work that diaphragm, get it relaxing, get it moving, then it's going to be really beneficial. I mean, you know, I'm not afraid to say I went through some terrible highs and lows. I was really badly suffered with postnatal depression. And I do find that it's a really good one for kind of quietening your mind, calming you down and making you focus on you just for 10, 15 minutes. So, yeah.
Excuse me. I know, obviously, with yoga and Pilates, they also focus on breathing. You know, you breathe out when you similar. So like, how do people find a local class or someone that's doing it online where they live? How do they find a hypopressives?
So we have a directory on our website, so you can have a look on ukhypopressive.com. It's up on the screen there, and just click on the Find a Trainer tab, and then it drops down, and you find different counties and just see if there's anyone near to you. Unfortunately, we don't have trainers in every town.
No.
It would be nice if we did, and it would be nice if it becomes that well known that we do. But if you want someone in person to train you or to do classes with you in person, that's probably the best place to go, is to have a look on your directory. But as I said earlier on, I am offering loads of online stuff, so it doesn't matter where. I mean, I have people in Australia, in Asia, I have people all over the world that come to classes and come to sessions, join in with my Facebook groups. I'm now putting those Facebook groups onto an online platform, so that means that I don't have to worry about them being on social media or not, because a lot of people are going away from things like Facebook now anyway. So yeah, there's so many online ways of learning it, and don't feel like you can't learn it online, because honestly, it's
I was going to ask you about that actually, because I don't do a lot online, and it's probably just my own thinking. I mean, I've got my computer in my bedroom, and there's not a lot of space here. So I've got an iPad. I mean, am I going to be able to see everything going on with the iPad if I'm like standing away? And you see what I mean?
You have to work your angles. It's actually the online stuff so much easier on a laptop, which is what I'm viewing this on. But I do have people join classes sometimes on their phone. Just depends on your eyesight, I suppose. I mean, there's so many great devices to view on, but literally all you need is your mat. That's the space, is like a yoga mat space. That's it. So if you've got a tiny, I've had people join from America. She looked like she was in the cupboard, and I think actually we made a joke about it with children, and we used to say, "Oh no, she's just shutting herself away from the kids," basically. We make it work. So what I usually say is, as long as most people can see me and what I'm doing, then
that's the important thing.
I don't necessarily need to see the whole person. I can get by with. Sorry, my dog.
So how do they do it? Is it over Zoom? Is it?
Yeah. So Zoom classes,
right?
Or I do online stuff. So I've got like an online platform where there would be a course, and they sign up at the beginning, and they're just little videos.
So when you're doing your Zoom, you can see everyone that's in the class. So you can keep an eye on their positions and stuff. Make sure they're doing it properly.
Yeah, nice small classes as well. I don't really have any more than 10 in my class, so otherwise they're just like about that big, and it's too difficult.
You mentioned before that you wish you had more trainers in more towns. Are you actually looking for people to?
We're always looking for people. We're always
train to be teachers. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have.
That's quite important.
So we have. I run training courses pretty much. Well, I've run this year. I've probably run 6 or 7 training courses for small groups. It's a 1-day course, and currently it's up in Buckinghamshire for 4 students, and they've been really successful because just having 4 people in a room and on a 1-day course, it's quite intense, but people learn really well that way.
Yeah, small numbers.
And then we were before COVID, we were doing weekend courses, so we'd have about 24 people on the course. But that would be a weekend, and obviously there were venues all over the UK, mostly down south, to be honest, because that was the easiest place for me to find a venue.
Right.
And get people on it. And then, but now we've actually got an online teacher training course as well. So again, we've had people from Switzerland, from America.
I know, like when I do therapy online, there's not a huge difference than being face to face, but actually training a trainer online, it still works.
Yeah, they still go through the same certification process, so they still have the same assessments to pass. So we still get to see them.
Okay.
They have to pass certain practical assessments, so they're sent through via video. So I mean, we've had a lot of people qualifying through the online.
It's a lot of benefits. You don't have to travel anywhere, you know, and
do it anywhere time. You've got a whole year from when you buy the course.
Yeah, absolutely.
To actually do it. So yeah, I mean, it can be done live. It just depends how you like to learn. Often I talk to people on the phone, and they're like, "Oh, I much prefer to do in person, you know, with someone there in the room with me." That's fine. So we've got both options now, but certainly there's the online teacher training has been really successful. We've got some great deals coming up on all of our courses, the online courses anyway, with Black Friday. So anyone that's looking at this thinking they might want to do the online teacher training course, then next Friday we will have £150 off of that course. So it's a really good saving. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I just
want to know about that.
I took advantage of a Black Friday course today. I'm always like you. I don't know whether you're the same. I don't watch TV. I haven't got a telly. I'll always be like on a YouTube video watching something interesting that can, you know, improve my knowledge in what I'm doing. You know, I think it's really important. So we've got the online training.
Yeah.
And they can go to your website to get all that information as well. Yeah.
So the online teaching training is through ukhypopressiveseducation.com. So it's the same web address that's on there, but just with education.com on there. And that'll give you all the details. But if I was going to buy the course, I would be waiting now till Black Friday. Just saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Makes sense.
But I'll be sharing on my social media across Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram the certain deals that I'm doing. I'm sharing those this week as we come up to Black Friday, and all the details will be in there. If not, just sign up to my newsletter on my website, and then you'll get details about the Black Friday deals. But I would wait, and honestly, I think that if you just go on the website on the day, then I think it's on sale then. So it'll be on sale for 5 days, and that's the same with all my online products. I do a 30-day, a 31.
I was going to ask you about this. Yeah, the 30-day challenge. Tell me about that. Or tell us about that.
So if you're a complete beginner and you've never done hypopressives
like
before,
yourself,
so you can either do this via Facebook. If you do it via Facebook, you have to join on the 1st of the month.
Okay.
And you've got the Facebook group for accountability and motivation. That's the difference between the Facebook. I'm always in there kind of commenting on things and helping people out if they need it. But basically it's a video a day, and you view the video and then you do it. So the video's probably about 15 to 20 minutes, I would say, teaching you something to do with the breathing or the 8 postures. Yeah. And that goes on throughout the month that you're in on Facebook. And then I've put that now on an online platform, so you can join that at any time. And that is a 31-day challenge. And it's the same thing. You get reminders every day. The course is there for you. You could do it all in one day if you wanted to, but I would advise you. But I just take a video each day and complete it. And then at the end of it, you should have
Is there any cost involved in that? Obviously,
so yeah, the Facebook, both of them are £30, and again, it's a Black Friday
pound a day. It's a bargain, Nikki, isn't it?
No, I know, and I've had some really good feedback. I mean, I've got another group on Facebook where I come in every day and I do my hypopressives. So that's why I say I've been doing hypopressives regularly. I have, because I have to do it on screen. So every day I come into the group, do a live video, and it's a flow. So it's a breathe along flow. So I tell people what I'm going to be doing. They understand that and they copy what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So it's a really nice group to be in once you've kind of established the basics.
Okay.
Again, that's on Facebook, but I'm about to put that one online.
Okay. So someone like myself who's never done it before,
Yeah.
you recommend the 30? Because I was going to say to you, is there anywhere people can go to, you know, check out some of the movements to see if they think it's going to be for them?
Yeah. So I do a free taster session. Just you'll have to check my calendar because I'm not sure how many times. It's usually 2 or 3 times a month. I do just over an hour on usually a Friday morning or a Sunday morning, and they're free. You know, just come. I'll talk to you a little bit about what hypopressives is, how it might help you, why it might help you, why it's different, a bit like this chat.
Yeah.
And then we do a little bit of practical and talk about what options there are for going forward. You know, how you might like to carry on with it. So yeah, if you want to dip your toes and find out a little bit more, then that's a great way to do it. Is the free taster session, and there's a big button on my website that says free taster sessions.
Fantastic.
And it should bring up my calendar, so it should then tell you when the date. So I think the next one is Black Friday.
Oh wow, there you go.
Yeah.
It's going to be a special day. The 30-day challenge, is it similar time frame for the exercises each day, 10-15 minutes?
Yes. So what happens is you're in a kind of learning phase. When you've never done it before, you're in this learning phase, and you're in this learning phase probably for about 4 to 8 weeks, maybe even longer with some people. Yeah. So sometimes it might take you 3 months to kind of really be confident.
Like anything, Nikki.
Yeah, go do it yourself. So you might like do your 30-day challenge and then go and do it again because you just want to keep going over stuff and get it fixed in your head. You might do 1 month and you're absolutely great with it and you love it and you go off into the horizon ever happy. But you know, everyone's very different. So sometimes it can take a month, but sometimes it can take up to 3 months. You're in this kind of learning phase. And then once you've got it and you're doing your regular flows, you just do them anyway. And they would be 10 to 15 minutes of continuous breathing in a flow.
Okay. So some people will do a 30-day challenge, and after that, they could carry on doing those exercises themselves, or they can join an online class because that's a great motivator, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people, and that's the idea, I guess. Yeah. It's like you go to yoga classes. You could do it at home, but you go to a yoga class because you've got, you know, other people. And
so I think it helps if you've got aspect. You've got to turn up. You've got to do it, and then you know, I'm always telling people 1 session a week, like with me, isn't enough. You need to be doing more. So I nag people, and then hopefully when I see them again the following week, I say who's done their homework, who's been practicing. I can tell anyway usually.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Can I ask? It's okay to ask you the cost of the online sessions. Do they differ? Or are they like a?
So if you're going to do a class, like a beginner's class, is £10 pay as you go, or it's £25 a month, and that's once a week. And that's the same with kind of what I call the intermediate class as well.
That's quite good value, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
25 a month. You're saving a fair bit of money there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that again, that's all on Zoom. You get sent a link. You just join at the time that the class is, and
it's pretty much price you pay for yoga or Pilates. So there's no difference with that really. So
it's a bit expensive to learn it. I think when I first started doing hypopressives, I used to package it up and say you have 6 sessions 1-to-1 with me at the clinic or in my, you know, practice room, and it just outpriced so many people. There were so many people that just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So now I've just kind of gone, right, no, you have this. You have something free first. Yeah. Free thing is the taster session, so that you can decide whether it's going to be something that you think you want to do.
But I personally, I'm going to give the 30-day challenge a blast.
Yeah,
I am, because it's, you know, it's quite important to me, to be honest. And I love the idea of the breathing behind it because I'm into breathing. So that would be really good.
Good.
And we can all find 10-15 minutes in a day to do something that benefits our body.
Yeah.
Can't we?
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
It is. Yeah.
And I do other things as well, and it'll complement it. You know, I do lots of techniques. I get my nervous system fired up by a little tapping.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're someone who's just like goes to the gym for 3 or 4 times a week, it's great because it helps you to prepare for going to the gym.
Yeah.
Or when you've been to the gym, you can use it afterwards to kind of reset everything. So
that's what I was going to say, because like I've got a lot of energy, you know, and I like a lot of energy type of exercise. So it'd be HIIT training, for instance.
Yeah.
It can be a bit full on, you know, and I think this would complement
Nice to calm everything down afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always good to kind of do a mixture, really, rather than just trying to get out there and kill yourself.
Yeah, I do enjoy it. I go for a run as well, and what I do is I've got a park around the corner. It's about a mile pathway all around it. So I run around that once, and then I walk around about 3 times.
Yeah, great.
And walking's good for you as well, isn't it? In fact, they reckon it's better. It's better on the joints, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Walking, I'm quite an injured person. I've abused my body so much throughout my life. I'm now suffering the consequences. So I now have 2 Achilles problems on both my feet, which actually I've got to a point now where I'm kind of been doing some rehab, and it's not quite so bad when I walk. So I back out enjoying my walks again. But that's one of the great things about having a dog as well. They get you out. You have to go out every day.
Of course. And it's interesting you said that, actually, because a lot of people, you know, when they do train, they do, you know, give their body, you know, it, like, how can I say it? You know, they, like, I can't think of the word, Nikki, but do you know what I mean? Like, they overwork sometimes, they do too much, and sometimes maybe the body is not designed to do what you're doing to your body, whether it be a workout or going for like a 15-mile run or whatever. And it's surprising how many like people that, you know, done martial arts for like 20-30 years or lots of marathons and stuff, they can have situations in the future with their body. Not everybody, obviously, but I guess if you do something like this, then it's.
I mean, you've only got to look at top level footballers, and the amount of training that they have to do puts their body under an immense amount of pressure. And so there are a lot of top level footballers that have hernia surgery.
Yeah, this is what I was trying to say, actually. Yeah. So we put our bodies through a lot of stress.
So they might look physically ripped, and you might think, oh, they look really fit, and they are fit, but their core doesn't work properly. They're, you know, they put themselves under too much pressure and they can't handle it. So again, it's another field where athletes, gymnasts, trampolinists, they would really benefit from doing hypopressives. Unfortunately, we are a culture, I suppose, where we only come to find these new things when we have a problem. And what would be great if we were doing stuff to prevent that happening in the first place.
Yeah, again, that's education, and one of the reasons why we're doing this today, to, you know, let people know what it's all about and how it can benefit them. Which
is why when I sent you kind of that info, I was saying I'm trying to kind of encourage people to breathe, not squeeze, because for a lot of people, those pelvic floor squeezes are not, they might not do any damage, but they're certainly not going to make anything better. And for some people, they are going to make things worse, like me and like people with scars. They're going to make things worse. So, you know, get your breathing sorted and forget the squeezing for a while.
Wow, excellent advice. It's funny, you know, because I had a chat with a lady that specialized in the perimenopause.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to have a co-host who was a lady, and she didn't turn up. I was like, oh my God, I'm a guy, I don't know anything about it. But it was quite interesting. I learned quite a lot, actually. You know, what you ladies go through.
Yeah. Or
can go through.
Absolutely. It's quite a lot.
Well, for everyone that's watching, especially the recording video afterwards, definitely worth checking out Hypopressives. Check out
a free taster session.
Yeah, absolutely. Free taster session, or if you want to jump in, do the 30-day. Yeah,
absolutely. Complete beginners.
Sounds amazing, Nikki. Well, I think that about wraps us up, I think.
Well, it's been lovely.
The dog's been very good, actually.
Yeah, he's right here.
No growling, no snoring. And like I say, it's thanks for coming on and sharing this.
Thanks for inviting
and
me.
hopefully, you know, you'll get lots of views when it goes on the YouTube channel.
Yep.
And also, if you want a recording of this, I can give you the recording,
out, yeah.
so you can have that. So just a note to everyone who's watching or will be watching. It's really important to support the channel because we have amazing people on, like Nikki, you know, sharing interesting techniques and different things with us that can help us benefit in our bodies and in our mind and whatever. So it's quite important to like, share and subscribe so we get the message out there wide and far. So that's it then, Nick. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Great to see you.
Absolutely. And to everyone watching, thanks for watching. And thanks to the people that will be watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sure you have. Some very interesting information. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.